right, guys, welcome back to the Omelette. I'm Megan Kieran, and today I have a very special guest. His name is John Paul Kingston. He's a men's embodiment and sexual vitality guide. Thank you so much for coming on today, John.
Yeah, you're welcome, Megan. It's an honor to be here. I love being in conversation with people and knowing that you have your own podcast. It's like, yeah, anything that I can do to be of support to the world, I'm here for.
Awesome. And I think, what you're doing is super cool. We'll get into a lot of those specifics, but let's backtrack and get to how your journey started. Can you tell me a little bit about your spiritual journey, awakening journey, whatever you want to call it, consciousness journey, and how it got to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah, I think there's many checkpoints along the way. For example, at the very beginning of my life, I grew up fishing and fishing on a river that my dad taught me how to just be with stillness, be in presence, how to read waters, right? And how to be with the land. And so, I when I turned like 19 or so, I was considering this idea of church and I wanted to go to church to like fit in with friends and whatnot. But I realized that the church that I grew up in was the river. It was like being in nature. It was being with the land. And yeah, so that was like a really pivotal, I guess, experience and upbringing in my life. And on top of that, I grew up with a mom who was very open spirituality, like spiritually,
Mhm.
where she would gift me crystals and stones and like necklaces when I was a teenager. And she's like, here's some tiger's eye. This is good for protection and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, mom, you crazy, beautiful lady. And at the
Right.
time I didn't understand it, but and then when just before I turned 18, I had what I call a catalyzing knee injury. I was playing football in high school and I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus. And my dream at the time was to go on to play college baseball. And the osteopath was basically like, hey, look, it's going to take at least 6 to 8 months in recovery. So your likelihood of playing, the spring/summer season of baseball is highly unlikely, which hate to say it means playing college baseball is looking like it's going to be out of the picture. And it was like such a crushing
Wow.
fucking thing for a doctor to tell an ambitious athlete at the
Yes.
and so I was going through like depression and anxiety and like started smoking way more weed, which helped with the pain, but like was just numbing my own sense of self. And my mom recognized this and she's like, hey, look, you need to get out of this funk. And here is a DVD on yoga and Tai Chi. And I was like, what the hell is yoga and Tai Chi?
Wow.
And she's like, I just feel like this is gonna be really good for you. And so about a month after surgery, as I could start to just wobble around a little bit, I would just practice whatever I could. I would just play this DVD every day and do what I could. And I had great support, athletic trainers, physical therapists, and ended up making a recovery in like 3.5 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And went on to play high school baseball, went on to play college baseball, and lived out this dream of mine at the time, which was amazing. And like it showed me not just the power of balance, the power of the breath, but also the power of the mind and what we can create, how we can utilize our mind, the thoughts that we have, the things that we say to ourselves really impacts how we show up in the world. And so, all of these things were bubbling up in my life, and I didn't know why or how. Like, how does this thing happen? I didn't conceptually understand it at the time. And so I played junior college, did 2 years there, got my generals, and then went to a university to continue to play baseball. And as I was contemplating what I wanted to study, I was like, well, I want to learn how I was actually able to recover in the ways that I did and how
Mm.
I could possibly help other people in who've had, injuries in their life or how they can become better athletes. And so I studied exercise science and sports psychology. And, it was good. It was pretty basic and didn't really scratch an itch, but it was what I studied.
Right.
And yeah, so from there, I I well, how much do I share? Um,
It's totally up to you, whatever feels right. Because, for you to have gone through that journey, it's like, oh my gosh, like everything was taken back. But then you kind of showed yourself the power of healing, particularly through the mind and through these energetic practices that your mom exposed you to. So I think that itself was kind of like, okay, this is a little bit more miraculous than I thought it could be, right? The doctors are saying it's going to take 8 months, but it took 3,
yeah.
right? So that was pretty cool and for you to live it out. But, after that, you did what you had to do. This was the path. But what was that? Did you finally get that breakthrough where you're like, this is my passion? Like, this is what I need to do, where you finally felt like that itch was scratched?
Yeah, so thank you for that. When I graduated college, I was like, I need to leave the state of Nebraska where I grew up.
Okay.
It's like a big comfy couch. And so, yeah, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I gotta travel. I gotta like explore more of the world. And I ended up going to Yosemite out in California to pick up a friend. And at the time, I was probably like 23, 24, and experimenting a lot,
Mm-hmm.
smoking a lot of weed, consuming LSD, drinking a lot of beer and alcohol, and going to festivals and shows and whatnot. And so I go out to California. I'm really high on LSD a couple times at a Fish show, which is like a jam band, and it's like very, yeah,
Yeah.
weird music. It's fun, but I was getting really high. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's my point. To the point where I was very uncomfortable and had like quote unquote bad trips.
Okay.
Things that were being revealed to me and my habits and my patterns.
Oh, got
And it
it.
was very uncomfortable to look at.
Yes.
And yeah, and went to another one and also another uncomfortable experience that happened. Anyways, we're driving back through Colorado, and one of my buddies who's up in the front, he just starts talking about sexual transmutation
Mm.
and semen retention. And my buddy who was driving is like, no, fuck that, dude. Like I gotta, bust one out once a day type of thing. And I was like, I mean, I had my fair share with porn and like was definitely addicted to porn and masturbation in many ways. Um, but he was talking about these Taoist principles. And he's like, well, it's kind of like ejaculating, and your ejaculation literally creates a baby. It creates life, and when we learn how to harness it or ejaculate, we can take up that energy. And this is all about like Chinese medicine perspective.
Wow.
And since I was introduced to Tai Chi and yoga at 18, I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. You were
Like,
more open to it because you were exposed to the concepts in
yeah,
a way. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. And so he's like, yeah, you just basically you can take a deep breath and you can squeeze your perineum and roll your eyeballs up to your brain and just feel this energy rise up your spine. And yeah, that's kind of a practice that you can do that I'm learning in this book. I don't really know much about it, but like that's what I'm learning. And I was like, okay, so I'm sitting in the back seat of this car. I take in a deep breath. I squeeze my perineum. I roll my eyeballs up, and all of a sudden, this energy just like floods over my body. And I was like, holy shit, I just got really fucking high without smoking any weed, without doing any drugs, without drinking anything. And that was sensational. Okay,
Wow.
bro, tell me more. Like, what is this book that you're reading? And he's like, it's called The Tao of Sexology by Stephen Chang. And I was like, what other mentors are you like? Who are the people you're listening to? He's like, well, I started listening to this guy, Paul Chek, and then Elliot Hulse. And, these are some influencers on YouTube. And I was like, cool. So I went back home and I just dove in. And from that point, I was just enamored because everything that I had experienced when I was 17, 18 years old and the healing that I went through was much more explained through the lens of Paul Chek, who is like the holistic health grandfather. If you guys don't know who Paul Chek is, highly recommend looking him up. Paul Chek. And he has this book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, and it's like a 5-year-old can read it. And it has so much gold in there about lifestyle and nutrition and chemicals and electromagnetic toxicity and the impact of how stress summates. And it's not just like one thing that causes stress, it's all of these different factors. And then he talks about like how to reorganize the body through specific patterns and exercises, but also how to heal the body through emotional health and spiritual health. And it made complete sense to me as somebody who was longing and looking for this in college. Here, this guy was just like giving it to me on a platter. So, yeah, I just started
That's
studying
amazing.
everything I could on YouTube, and there's more, but that was like a really catalyzing moment.
Yeah, and honestly, when you said Paul's name, it glitched a little over his name. So I wrote his name down because you mentioned a few different people and then you dove in on him. So I think that's also a sign for anyone listening. Definitely look him up if you feel called to, because it looks like there can be a lot of gold people can get from this, sharing of information about him, especially when it comes to looking at things more holistically. I love how your journey, started and kind of continued in a very grounded way, right? It started with fishing and like being out in nature, and then continued with, your mom giving you crystals, and this embodiment really brought you and prepared you for this moment, right? The yoga, the tai chi, for you to really say, hey, there's something about this that can heal people, but like specifically men, right? And heal in a way where it's like we're healing things that have been in the bloodline, things and habits and culture, right? That has been just so inundated in our society for many, many years. So what you're doing is bringing forward an ancient practice, right? That is very much needed in today's world, right? With all the information we have on our phones, and how scattered a lot of that can get for people and men in general who need this cleansing and like this information of how they can bring this energy back into themselves.
Yeah, totally. And it's not just information, it's content and it's media, it's pornography. Like we have
Exactly.
literally access to it right here, right now, if I want to at any
I
time.
know.
And it causes major distraction. It causes addiction.
Hmm.
It it spikes dopamine to think that we are getting things done when in reality we're not. We're just inundated by sex.
Hmm.
And then what ends up happening is we start to grasp and reach, and that energy starts to objectify, and eyes linger, and men don't know how to actually come back. People don't know how to come back to just the glory of sensuality, of sexuality, of orgasmic potential that is already within us. Like we can get high on our own supply.
Yeah.
And like Salvador Dali said, I don't do drugs, I am drugs.
Mm.
I don't do porn, I am porn.
Right.
So that's like this mindset shift that we don't need to constantly reach outside of ourselves to feel worthy, to feel joy, to feel peace, safety, acceptance. But oftentimes, porn or these distractions are simply a symptomatic protection mechanism.
Hmm.
It's like, and it's not, I always say like porn is not the problem. What is all porn was simply a solution for most men, a
Right.
solution of how to cope with them feeling abandoned or them feeling like they can't talk to a person or feeling lonely or feeling angry or feeling shame because no one is taught how to simply men in general are not taught how to be with their emotions and how to just be like, oh, I can feel this right now. I can actually feel anger. I can feel shame, and it's okay. I'm safe. I'm going to move out of that. And now I'm going to take this beautiful, creative, sexual life force energy and now put it into something that is actually giving me true dopamine hits.
Hmm.
That's actually giving me a sense of purpose and direction. So, yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I had to learn it though. I had to learn it the hard way because I was somebody who was addicted, who struggled sexually, who had my own sexual trauma growing up, um, and was confused about like how do I operate in this world? And so much of it was from not knowing how to feel myself and not knowing how to actually honor and own and embody who I am.
Yeah. Everything you said was just beautiful and so important. I literally was tearing up. I'm like, the world needs to hear this
Mm,
because there is a revolution that is happening right now with men, specifically men, right? But it's everyone. It really is everyone, but just this generational focus on what men had to go through and the way that this, comfy thing that porn is became for people. And that's not what it needs to be, right? And, as you're talking about really feeling, right? We really have to come back to feeling. Everyone, in order to heal, needs to feel who they truly are. And we are so fragmented in this world from the different traumas we go to. So bringing it all back to home, it's like our body is the land. I don't know why that's coming through, but like I keep thinking about you fishing and just like how the
mhm.
land is so still and teaches us so much. Our body is our land. Our body is what teaches us so much. And we just need to slow down, listen, and go through whatever process works for us, right? There's so many different avenues. So I would love to kind of hear what you're doing now and kind of what you've seen throughout this awakening that a lot of the male energies are having right now.
Yeah, for sure. I happy to get into that. And first, I'm gonna segue into that by first saying and acknowledging, what you're saying in this piece of our body is the land.
Hmm.
Because in Chinese medicine, uh, the spleen is governed by the earth element. And the spleen also governs the muscles, the fascia, which is our main electrical system. And it's our main like meridian system where we are, yeah, like energy is flowing through us. And oftentimes, what I learned is that the number one cause of like, say, erectile dysfunction and arguably 90% of disease is from too much heat in the head, which means there's anxiety, there's too much overthinking. And what I have learned is when in doubt, go to the earth. Go to the earth around us, go into the earth element within us, come back to our body, come back to our muscles, come back to the fascia, come back to the electrical system. Okay, so
Yep.
why I segue with that is because now what I'm doing with men is one, teaching them how to fucking feel in their body. And there's many different practices that I use. Oftentimes there's these many Taoist universal healing Tao is the lens that I look through, and it's under the body of Montauk Chia's work. And so Mantak Chia is one of the most popular Taoist yogis in the world, and he's brought forth a lot of the conversation around sexual energy, of sexual transmutation, of sexual kung fu. And so I bring in a lot of these tools, sexual kung fu, um, or the universal healing Taoist practices like the inner smile meditation, the microcosmic orbit, six healing sounds to ground men back into their body so that when we find more groundedness, now we can start to communicate. We learn how to communicate with our organs, with our glands, with our tissues by simply building a relationship with them. Most men have no idea where their spleen is. Most people don't know where their spleen is. Most people have no relationship with their thymus or their adrenals,
I
let alone.
honestly don't know where my spleen is.
Yeah, I know. And I'm not saying that to shame people,
No,
but
and
it's
I want
because,
to be honest, to be like,
yeah,
I'm one of those people, like, I'm not good with anatomy.
yeah,
Like, and all of this is so, so amazing. The electrical system, sorry, continue, please.
yeah. And I mean, I didn't know what the where the fucking spleen was, but
Right.
now I have a relationship with it. Essentially, it's just below the rib cage on the left-hand side.
Okay.
So we have our liver on the right-hand side, and then we have the spleen on the left-hand side.
Okay. So kind of
And
near your solar plexus a little bit, but to the left.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
Um, and so now, ideally, when there's like a spasm, when there's like maybe some tension, or it's feeling really light, and we can recognize that in the body, we can be like, okay, there's information there
Mm,
because the body keeps score. And there are um, more universal emotions that can be stored in our major organs. For example, the lungs are often associated with grief. The liver is associated with anger. Spleen is associated with worry or anxiety. The heart is associated with impatience. Kidneys are associated with fear. And so those are generally, that's like generally speaking, but even furthermore, yeah, we can store emotions in our body. And emotion simply breaks down to energy in motion. And if we're not moving that energy, if we're not expressing it, speaking to it, or if we're not just like dancing through it or being creative with it, that energy in motion gets stuck somewhere in the body and it finds a way to be expressed through pain, discomfort, tension. And so I keep saying this when we start to build a relationship with our body, with all parts of our body, with our penis, with your ovaries, with the testicles, with the rectum, with the perineum, now we start to recognize that, oh, I'm not my emotions. There's just something in there that is wanting to be expressed. It's just a part of me. And it's just asking to be met. And once we start to meet it, we start to bring attention to it, the tension dissolves. When we start to have a dialogue with it, and we can start to actually understand, maybe even see. Like I was not somebody who was a visual person, like in meditations, or I'm not like my sister,
sure.
she's like a clairvoyant. She could like things just come up to her. And that was like really hard for me. But now that I have relationship with so much more of my body, I can tune into a place and be like, what would you like to show me? And all of a sudden, like images start to show up.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh wow, what is this? What does this triangular shield thing mean? Oh wow, I'm holding, there's like a protection from this fucking fear that I'm experiencing from 10 years ago.
Mm,
And then I can be like, hey, buddy, what do you need? What do you need?
wow.
And reparent myself or renegotiate the relationship that I have with the different pain that's stored in the body.
So when you have those conversations with yourself, especially now, because I feel like there's a big shift that's been happening, I mean, exponentially, do you feel like it's almost like an instantaneous healing where it's like you meet that part of you whenever that part of you fragmented or went through that trauma, and you don't need to specifically even think about that situation, but you almost feel just so relieved afterwards, like after having that conversation or doing that specific movement or however you
Yeah.
release that trauma.
The other day, I had some wicked muscle spasms. They were just like, it was in my left arm, and I'm stubborn as hell. And I was like, maybe I'm just not drinking enough water. I like to kind of start with the basics first.
Yeah.
Am I drinking enough water? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting enough electrolytes, minerals, and stuff? It went on for like 3 days. And I was like, all right, this guy is speaking to me. And so I just laid down and I closed my eyes and was like, hey, buddy, you're a part of me. What do you need? And all of a sudden it was like, yeah, there's fear of being abandoned that's coming up. And it's something that I've worked through, but it was
Mm.
just like sometimes, like just because you work through something once, just because I worked through something once, doesn't mean it's gone forever.
Yep.
Because we have so many different little aspects and phenomena within ourselves. Like we have millions of little children running inside of us that are asking for attention. And we can't give it all attention all the time, but sometimes one needs a little bit more attention. And for me to be like, to just be with it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I hear you. Like you're feeling anxious about X, Y, and Z. Like, I want to remind you that you're safe, that you're okay, that your mama loves you, that I love you, and that I'm here for you. And I was like, okay, didn't think much about it.
Yeah.
I haven't had those muscle spasms since.
That's like the power of the mind, people. That's something that is underrated, especially when it comes to the body. I think that your whole story embodies that, right? From when you had the accident with baseball and then to now, it's like the mind and body are so connected, and this holistic way of healing is what is going to change everything. But particularly what you're doing with men is just super, super powerful. Have you seen a lot of changes happen with the people that you've been working with, or just like in the workshops you've had? I'd like to hear kind of how those go and kind of what you have going on for, moving forward this
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel so humbled to be able to to do what I get to do. Um, yeah, I've seen dramatic changes in the men that I work with. And I typically work with people for like 6 months to a year and a half.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, I find that it really needs like this level of holding, containment, commitment. Now, there are things that can happen right away. But my I'm not here to just like be a let me just heal one thing or let me like help you heal one thing and be done like in a one-time session. I'm here to empower people to learn how to get to like to actually go to the root of who they are, literally
Mm-hmm.
with their cock and balls and figuratively with their emotional body or like the deepest parts of them that they have been afraid to look at and empower them to know how to navigate that so they can go in the world and have a sense of their own self. So, I mean, yeah, one thing that I've seen in a client, like we didn't even work specifically on weight loss. We worked more on like um him breaking, his addiction to pornography and like Snapchat and like sending, just like being in this like very over sexualized world
Yep.
and how he could like reclaim that for himself. And he broke his addictions. He's like, dude, I feel so much better not watching porn, not looking for hookups. I'm calling in right relations with people rather than, all these one night stands. And as a result, he also has lost like 100 pounds and he keeps losing weight.
Wow.
He's getting jacked and he looks so fucking good. And so like I'm not going to take credit for that work that he's done on his own, but it's like it's holistic.
It's a byproduct of it.
It's a byproduct of.
In a way, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I've seen business owners who are providing for their whole family who have been in grind mode for their whole life
Hmm.
soften and find more peace, more confidence, more joy. And the reason that guy came to me in the first place was to simply last longer in bed. And that was
Wow.
like focus, right? That was the
Yeah.
focus. But to get to that focus, we also had to look at like, okay, where in your life are you gripping so tightly? Are you holding on because we're operating in a stress state?
Hmm.
Because essentially ejaculation is a sympathetic nervous system response. It's a fight or flight response. A
Okay.
fight, flight, fuck to. So I don't know if we can use. Is that okay
Oh
that I'm?
yeah, no.
Okay, I've
I
used
don't think
that.
there's any young listeners. This is over 18 people. We swear here.
um, so yeah, fight, flight, fornicate, to procreate, to keep life going.
Right,
Essentially, is like often what happens. And so what more men need is to learn how to self-regulate and be in a parasympathetic nervous system state so that they can relax and just be present with the experience, be present with the moment, and have more engaging, um, dual cultivating experiences that don't just get the man off and leave the partner high and dry. And so that was like the avenue that we looked at, but we had to look at so many different things of like, why is this happening? It's not just happening in the bed, it's happening in other realms of
right,
the life. And so, I could just teach guys the Taoist principles of here's how you move energy in the body. Here's how you do the microcosmic orbit. Here's how you start to um, alchemize sexual energy. I can do that, and I've done that. The problem with it is that it requires a very clean slate
hmm,
because sexual energy has two primary characteristics, and that's to bind and amplify. And so if somebody is using these very highly advanced technological transmutation techniques, but there's toxicity in their system, there's emotions that they're holding on to, what will happen is the body will bind to that and it will amplify, it will multiply that
okay,
until we get to a breaking point where it's like, fuck, I need to make a change in my life. And so that's where it gets really dangerous. It gets dangerous doing these things without any awareness of detoxification. And that's essentially what I was practicing when I started learning these things. I was just like, well, I just want to learn all the techniques.
of
But
course, yeah,
what I had to realize is I need to detox my whole system first,
yep,
mentally, emotionally, energetically, nutritionally, because things would bubble up more. More of my shadows would pop up. And so it's a very sexy thing to be like, yeah, I want to practice sexual kung fu and have the best sex of my life. And it's like, great, we're going to get there. But we also need to look at all these different areas of your life.
right,
And we need to learn how to navigate the waters of emotions,
hmm,
the waters, the land of lifestyle. Um, and so, yeah,
yeah. I love
yeah,
that
that's the
because that reflects like a lot of what I do with spiritual awakening journeys. And it reminds me of the dark night of the soul. You know, it looks great, rainbows, butterflies, beautiful, you know, when you go through a spiritual awakening. Oh my gosh, there's so many energies out there, you know, so many books out there to learn and stuff. But then it's like, wait a second. I have to learn boundaries. I have to look within. I have to face my shadows. I have to learn how to deal with it. I have to navigate my new reality and figure out how to do that. But then the goodness comes in whatever way you're seeking it, right? And sexually, it's just a byproduct, right, of everything else that you heal. And it's all holistically in one. So that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I find that a lot of men's work avoids to look at the sexual piece.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable, I think,
It's
for a lot of
uncomfortable.
people because of how
Taboo.
society makes it seem, right? It's just, it shouldn't fit into a box. But then you take it back to the ancient cultures, they had some way of realizing how this energetic force and like having these experiences can be super powerful in a way that's not keeping you in a hamster wheel, keeping you in that loop of just needing more. And, you know, this is a lot of the energies that society has fed us.
Yeah, exactly. It's where we are born from. It's like what creates life.
Literally, literally,
And
it's everything.
it's everything. Like two things colliding together to create that's sexual energy. And it's like, so it is the root of who we are. And yeah, again, your desire to want the best sex of your life, to last longer in bed, to have like multiple orgasms is super valid and super necessary. And there's so much more to it that we get to look at.
Yeah, when it's intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you bring
So
that energy back into yourself and it's different. Yeah.
yeah, and that's like and then comes back to the meridians and the fascia of the
Mm.
body where now we have more electricity, we have more chi in our system to not just go out in the world and get healthier and stronger, but to also hold a greater charge of currency, of money, or to be able to hold more energy and motion, emotions for ourselves or for another. And that brings us into deeper relationship of presence with our beloveds, with our family, with random people in the world. And to give a moment of presence is one of the simplest, yet arguably for me, the greatest gift I can give. To give presence is a present. And I know for myself, the more that I meet myself, the more I am present with myself, the more I am present with this weird, primordial, animalistic, sexual energy and can just hold it, be witness to it, not need to act upon it, choose when to act upon it and how to act upon it in my own boundaries. The more I get to, I don't know, feel like I mean, what's been reflected to me is I'm an impact. I'm supporting people. it feels good to be around. And so, yeah, it's like there's so many levels to it.
No, there totally is. And what you're doing and creating and kind of the movement that you're doing just within your own self and what you're offering to the world is all part of this new earth energy, all part of this evolution of consciousness we're going through because it's that next step of where we're headed as a species in a way, right? And half of us have been really ignored in a lot of aspects, a lot of these feminine aspects, sexual, creative, sensual aspects that are coming back. So I appreciate all the work that you're doing. And can you speak a little bit about your offerings? So you do one-on-one sessions. What else do you
Mhm.
do, and where can people find you? I'll link everything below as well.
Yeah. I do one-on-one work. I have a group of people that I work with. I run my own group containers from time to time. I have my own course called the Super Transmutation course, and be on the lookout for another mini course that I'm coming out with. That's going to be essentially a 30-day porn detox protocol. And then I co-founded an organization called the Bro Dojo with your friend, my brother, Raw Ransom Kennedy. And yeah, so we guide men through online group containers, bringing forth Qigong, sexual Kung Fu, and brotherhood relational work. And we'll have our first in-person event in New York City here in a couple weeks, so July 18th and 19th. And then we'll do another 2-day in-person event here in Boulder, Colorado, September 5th and 6th, followed up with a group container, a 90-day group container online. Um, but yeah, those are my main offerings. I mean, if people are interested, they can get onto my email list. Tons of value that comes through there on a weekly basis. Yeah, and I like to share things on social media. I have my own podcast called the Cultivated Man Podcast. Um, and so yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome. That's a lot. I love it. You have so many things that you're doing, and I think there's a lot of cool opportunities that people have to work with you. So I'll link all of that below. And I think this is really, really important for a lot of people. So if you've been nervous to take that step, I think this is the step that you should take with John Paul,
Yeah.
because it's something that you're doing for yourself, and all the men out there really deserve to be on this healing journey as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I think it's our birthright to be in our sovereignty and our deepest pleasure and to magnetize, things into
Yes.
our life. Also requires work. It requires effort. It requires intentionality. Um, and yeah, if people are interested, like highly recommend just send me a message and we can find a time to talk. Um, I like to just have conversations with people and get to know them and see how I can be of support and to see if things are a good fit. Yeah, and we can figure out like
Awesome.
what direction they want to go.
Super cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you so much, listeners. Let us know what you think, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you,
Namaste.
Megan. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please check out my socials at The Om Way on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify. You can also find me at theomlight.com. Sessions are now open and available. One-on-one sessions are super helpful for anything you may be going through in your life to help you feel more aligned and clear.